I'm here in a 1963 Matra Djet. And of course it's Jet with a D because the French didn't know how to pronounce jet with a J. So they stuck that D on there for jet. So it was designed by Rene, it's spelled Bonnet, but I've got a sneaky suspicion it's pronounced Bonnet or something like that. But yeah, he'd actually designed the car. Then Matra, I think, took over completely a little bit later. The body's almost Stingray style in the sense of a long hood, very flowing lines, a tapered back. But it's got tall, narrow tires, and it rides kind of high. But for me, it gives like it almost feels like a little sleek dog with like long legs. It feels like capable and graceful in a strange way. This car is outfitted like an apartment. There's wood, there's leather, there's some metal, little bits of bright work and chrome. It feels like you could take these same materials and if you translated them into a room, you'd have like a pretty cool old apartment. And of course, this means it's dangerous and in a wreck, it'd be like, you know, slamming your head into a bureau or a Davenport at 45 miles an hour, which is probably not great. Of course, for the driver, you're hitting this splintery wooden steering wheel, which will kind of puncture your forehead like a pair of grotesque horns. And on this side, on the passenger side, you're just going to get a face full of padded leather before the engine crushes you into the front of the car. But it didn't seem like until the 80s that they thought you ever needed to label any controller and control in the car, because nothing's got a label on here. Like the wipers is an unmarked black knob. Black, you know, for wipers. You'll figure it out. I'm lucky that the gauges are at least indicated. It's not just a bunch of moving needles. It's got this great little line of little lights all written in French, and I recognize oil and direction, and ooh, it's water. Anti-BRD. I'm against BRD if you are, buddy. This is also the weirdest turn indicator stock. It's like a piece of pasta that's just been jammed in here. It's so fragile. But all the controls actually fit really well. Like your hand's very natural on the shifter. It's one of these old school shifters where you can just feel exactly every little gear shoving through. It's almost like you just have a little extended metal finger going down and just poking those gears into place. But the seats are these kind of little thin buckety things that just kind of are little, it's like the upholstered version of a pair of hands cradling your ass, just holding you in place right there. The mild vibration of the engine right behind your back. It's all pretty soothing. Traffic is always a tricky way to test a car, but it's also a good test. It's not crazy finicky in traffic. Like, I'm not fighting to keep this thing running. And it's actually not that difficult. Like, the pressure I'm putting on for the clutch isn't that bad. The steering's relatively light for being unassisted. For an old car, 63, the driving position's great, visibility's really good, which is unusual for a low-slung car like this. Ah, that sound is fantastic. Around here we go. Go down to second and open her up. Oh yeah. Oh, this is fun. There's a 2CV and like a 1940s Hotchkiss up front, but what's making me go slow is this jackass in an F-150. How are you doing that, buddy? I feel like this was probably something close to the BRZ of its era. It feels kind of like that. This feels a lot more usable than, say, a Lotus of the time would have been, for example. So after driving the Matra, a couple of quick thoughts. For one thing, it's fantastic. It feels great. It sounds and smells and drives exactly the way you'd want this car to drive. If you own a Matra Jet, you just have to kind of accept the fact that your Matra Jet is going to be the coolest thing about you. You know, American astronauts had Corvettes. They gave one of these to Yuri Gagarin when he came back, so it's kind of the cosmonaut's car. But the big thing I wanted to show is this. So the roof comes off and it's nice and open, but they realized when the roof is off and you're driving with the hatch down, the wind coming through the top will push against the rear plexi, this rear window, and blow it right out of the car. Instead of re-engineering things or putting in vents or reliefs or baffles or strengthening the window mounting, their solution is so much better. They added these little standoffs that fit into these little rubber bungs up here, so it just basically keeps the rear hatch open slightly. This is such a French solution to this problem in that it's not a solution at all. They say, well, if it blows the window out, you'll just drive with the hatch open a little bit because we just don't care. And in a way, it's terrible engineering, and in another way, it's kind of the best thing ever. Where am I going, by the way? Right at Fessler's Lane. All right.
Goddamn grass.
Am I going remotely the right way?